everybody. Welcome to today's Daily Distinction. I had so much fun with Glenn out here yesterday. I'm back out. I'm telling you, as a Hoosier and a Midwesterner who dealt with cold for so long, it's been out here in shirt sleeves today in Vegas. I'm always going to appreciate that. Hope you're doing great today. Great to see you. Happy Friday to everybody. So glad that you're here. If you missed yesterday's show, man, you need to go watch the replay. Glenn Morshower is just an amazing guy. And Glenn and I were out night before last, the first time that we met in person. We've been doing the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott for weeks and weeks. Been every week since Easter, but we had never met in person. And Glenn was in Los Angeles, jumped in his car. Can you believe that there's something to think about here? He's the kind of guy that jumped in his car, drove from Los Angeles to Vegas. That's depending on what time you go. It's a 4.5 hour drive. And he did that just so that we get the chance to meet in person. I just think that is so amazing. And he's connected with some other folks while he's been here, but it's just amazing. So we were out just having a fabulous time night before last. And he came to the house, sat here yesterday as we did Daily Distinction, dropped some amazing insights on all of us. You know, I sat here in slack-jawed amazement at some of the things that he was talking about. I just loved it. And then Tammy and Glenn and I went to lunch yesterday. Sat outside, we're distanced, everything good, and just had an extraordinary time. So if you haven't seen that, I really want to suggest that you check out the replay. It was great. By the way, I realized as we were going on, because I carried this out and set it out, my glasses are the kind that automatically darken. So I don't mean to be sitting here talking behind my shades. I didn't even think about that when I came out of here. So glad to see you. Hey, Brian, hot chocolate cheers. I dig that. That is so cool. Janice, happy Friday. Hope things are great in Texas where you are. Doug is in Middle Tennessee. I love that, Doug. Good to see you. Yeah, he was fun, wasn't he, Ted? It was just a fun show. It was great. And thanks, Ernest. Oh, I appreciate that. That photo was taken right out here in our driveway. It was really cool. We really enjoyed that. And my first photo, by the way, with the new iPhone. So I thought it turned out pretty cool. So, hey, Ernest, and thank you, too. Sharing is caring, as we say. So thank you for sharing this. Paul from the UK. Man, it's great to see you. The photos that you have been posting of both Zeus and hope he's doing well, and your son are just out of this world. I love seeing him. I like everything you put out there, my friend. It's so fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, Jerry Glenn is an amazing person, and he has incredibly valuable insights. And man, I got to tell you, it is not like it's not like the switch goes on. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, Glenn, the camera's on. Be insightful. He's that way. He's just that way. Oh my gosh! And look who is here. I told Glenn a third person story about somebody that used, they said something to me about themselves and they used the third person. And Glenn and I got pretty tickled at that. So yes, Glenn loves the show. And Glenn, Scott McCain wants you to know how much he appreciates that. All right. So, there you go. Hey, Kevin, shirt sleeves in Ohio today. That's awesome. Crazy for mid-November. Ronaldo, so good to see you, and thanks for watching live. I know that you catch it on replay quite a bit, and that is grateful. Oh, you got to check it out, Mike. It's really terrific. And Mike and I were on a conference, a Zoom conference earlier this week, and that was great. Oh man, you've been watching 24, Cheryl? Absolutely. You are up to date with Glenn, or getting that way anyway. Jerry was telling us you were watching that. So, well, hey, topic for today, and thank you again for being here. I truly appreciate it. Topic for today is, and it's part of the reason I'm sitting outside too, is that November 20th is always a date that strikes me. Today would have been a wedding anniversary with my first wife, my late wife, Sherry. We were married on November 20th. We were married in the living room of my mentor's home. My mentor was a guy named Grady Nutt, and you ought to look him up online. He was just one of the most brilliant Christian humorists and speakers ever. As a matter of fact, when they present the Dove Awards, which are the Gospel Music Awards, the award for the leading Christian humorist is called the Grady Nutt Award. He was just such an extraordinary person. And Sherry and I were married in his living room, making us the only couple that you ever knew that was married at the Nutt House. Literally, we were married at the Nutt House. Sherry was and remains such a pivotal and important figure in my life. And for those of you that don't know, and I will do this later today on Facebook, every year on our wedding anniversary and on her birthday, I post a short remembrance. And one of the great parts about that is my wonderful wife, Tammy, encourages me to do that. Matter of fact, that's one of the things that she has encouraged. Just as while she was in hospice, Sherry told her best friend, Betsy, to make certain that I didn't sit around and mope, that I started dating again and I built relationships and all that. That says so much about Sherry and her character. But it makes me think of a message, and this isn't about my situation. I'm just trying to use that as an example, because a lot of times when something difficult happens in our lives, we hear from other people that we've got to move on. And it doesn't have to be the death of a spouse. It can be, an injury in a car wreck. It can be that you have a child that gets involved in unsavory things. There's a myriad of things that it could be. And there's always somebody that's waiting to tell you to move on. This may be a situation that you're in. Jim Rohn talked about, and you've heard me quote it here several times, that life is like the seasons. After the winter of my life, where Sherry dealt with cancer and passed away, a spring awaited. That was meeting Tammy and starting this new life. But when you're in the winter, you don't realize that a spring is going to come. You think it's going to be, there are winters that you think are going to last forever. Just like, when I was growing up back in Indiana, there were some winters that passed quickly, and there were others that we thought, man, is spring ever going to get here? This winter's never going to end. You been there? I bet you have. There's always somebody that's telling you to move on. And that seems so disrespectful to me. It seems so disrespectful. It seems so inappropriate, because even though it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, what she endured and what she went through was so much more difficult, so much more physically painful, so much more emotionally awful than what I went through. And moving on just seems so difficult. To a few friends, I've told the story. Naturally, one of the most important things you can do is get some counseling. Talk to somebody about the pain you're going through, and talk to somebody about what you're dealing with. And I'll never forget saying to the counselor, I said, this hurts so bad. How long does it take to get over something like this? And instantly she said, oh, you'll never get over it. And what kind of jerk would you be if you could? I mean, if you could be married to somebody for over 2 decades and they tragically pass away and you get over it, she said, you'll never get over it, but you will learn to live with it. It will become part of the fabric of your life. And she said, man, every birthday of hers is going to hurt. And every wedding anniversary, your heart's going to hurt. But she said, you have to move forward. And so I want to give you a couple ideas about moving forward today with that. Oh, thanks, Janice. I appreciate that. Brian, thank you. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's finding a way to move forward. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Glenn, as usual, you nailed it. Yes. Yeah, it speaks volumes about Tammy. One of the things Tammy said when we were dating, because I was still kind of struggling with it. When we first started dating, I got to be honest, I felt like I was cheating on my wife, even though I wasn't. And one of the things that Tammy said that tore me up is she said, my ego isn't such I need to be the love of your life, but it would be great if we could be the love of each other of the rest of our lives. That told me what kind of person she is. There you go, Ernest. I'm glad to hear that, man, because you deserve the spring. I mean, we all do. We do. Oh, thank you. See, it is. It's such a weird roller coaster, Janice. You are so right, and I'm glad to hear you say that about a therapist too, because it's such a challenge. We don't need to be handling it solo. Carrie, it's always great to see you. I hope you're doing great. Thanks for being here on a Friday. So let's talk about moving forward. What does that mean? And let me just share just some some ideas about it and see if you find them helpful. I think that moving on is dealing with and focusing on the past. But I think moving forward is saying, I'm going to deal with the future. And it's been said a million times, it's not original to me, as you know, by a long shot, but there is a reason the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. We've got to be focused on where we are going. And that was one of the things that Sherry told Betsy, her friend, was that, life is for the living, and don't let Scott spend the rest of his life not living, because I know how precious life is. So moving on is dealing with the past. Moving forward is dealing with the future. And here's one of the things that I experienced. Moving on can make you feel like you're trying to forget about the past. And that's not respectful. That's not honest. It's where people develop, I think, some emotional challenges because they push things down and they don't deal with it. They don't, they're just trying to forget about it and move on. But moving forward kind of says to me, and maybe it's just semantics, but it's something I'd like for you to consider. Moving forward, I think, should feel like you're trying to build on the lessons learned from the past. Look, I know I'm a better person because of the pain of the past. At least I hope to be. And I'd like to think I'm a better husband now than I was in the past. At least I'd hope to be, because I've learned lessons from that. And moving forward means that we're going to build on lessons from the past. I also think moving forward has to be more goal-directed. It means we're going to move forward. You don't move forward in north, south, east, and west simultaneously. There's something about moving forward that means that it's going somewhere. It's trying to make progress. It's trying to go somewhere. And that's so important. Yeah. Doesn't the gardener understand that personal development shows are more important than lawn care? I love that. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Yeah. And Donovan, yeah, I'm talking about a winter that happened to be. Sometimes we create our own winters. That happens. It's happened. Yes, I get it. You are exactly right. And so, this concept is not just about if you've had a tragedy of someone else experiencing something that impacted you. It could be maybe you created that. Maybe you found that. But moving forward means that we're going to have a direction. So my suggestion is that we honor the past and we embrace it. That's, I'm sure that there are some folks on Facebook that think, good grief, your wife has been gone 15 years. Do you really have to do this every year? And you know what? I don't give a damn. They can think that if they want. I am going to honor her because I hope somewhere she knows that, but I do that because it's the right thing for me. And I think honoring the past and embracing it is the right thing for you. But there's a difference between honoring and embracing the past and living in it. For living in the past is practically never productive. We've got to move forward. We've got to find a way to progress. So that's my suggestion for you. If you're dealing with a winter in your life, maybe part of the reason that you're still in winter is because you've chosen to stay there. It's one of the things that I heard in my life, and it's hard to hear. And I say that respectfully. And I'm not trying to upset or hurt anybody. But if the weather had changed and the birds are singing, the leaves are coming out, and you're still wearing your winter coat, it doesn't mean it's winter. It just means that's where you're living. And the same may be true in your life. Maybe the reason, I don't know what your challenge is specifically, but may I suggest that you consider that maybe the reason for the winter for some of us is that you're doing what I did at one point in my life, which was I kind of chose to stay there. It might be because you're overwhelmed with grief. It might be because you don't feel worthy of a spring. There's a myriad of reasons. But the way you get past that is to make some plans and goals for the future and make the choice to move forward. Hey, here's my great pal, Randy Pennington. Hey, Randy, glad you're here. Great quote from William Bridges. It's not the changes that do you in, it's the transitions. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Randy, that is so insightful. Moving forward is about getting through the transition. That is so insightful. Ted, I try to be. I don't always meet that goal sometimes, but you're kind to say that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad I did instead of I wish I had. That is so good. Dwelling in it's not a good thing, Jerry. It just contributes to the challenges. You're so right. Hey, Doug, I appreciate that. Thank you. So that's my encouragement for everybody today is don't listen to the advice to move on. Instead, decide to move forward. Don't dwell in the past. Deal with the future. I understand that you don't want to feel like you're trying to forget about the past. But what we do need to do is build on the lessons we've learned there. Moving forward is goal-directed. We should honor the past and embrace it. And living in the past is never productive. Make plans and goals for the future. Move forward. It's my privilege to be with you as we mutually create daily distinction and move forward and get better. And hey, here's one of my best friends on the planet too, Joe. I thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. So I'm going to move forward with some more activities today that are goal directed and things going on. I hope you do too. Hey, thanks to my buddy Glenn for joining me. Thanks to all of you, my pals Randy and Joe, especially jumping in here. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I hope that you continue to create distinction. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day.